Hey, this is Plagiarized Sin, and this is my official coming out video. I can perhaps count maybe 10 people in my life who actually know that I'm an atheist, and I really just need to get some thoughts out. I've been meaning to broach this subject with my father recently, and I'm not really sure how I'm going to do it. I know he's pretty open about it. He's never been a real hardcore Christian. He goes to church less than I do. And, you know, I just want someone to be able to talk. I just want to be able to talk about this with someone. So I was going to bring this up with him. But I realized today that I really couldn't make a case for why I feel this way. It just sort of happened. And if I had to explain it to him, or if my mother found out, oh God, if my mother found out. If my mother found out, I wouldn't have any way to explain why I feel this way. You know, like, it would just seem like I was being rebellious and, you know, rejecting my parents' ways, things like that. So, I don't expect many people to watch this. It's probably for the best, actually. But I just need to be able to get my thoughts out. And I don't know, I could write it out, but I don't know, there's just something about saying it that makes me feel so much better. I'd probably say I've been an atheist probably for about 2 years now, give or take a few months. I don't exactly remember when it happened, but it probably happened like a month after I became vegetarian. Completely coincidence, and that happened in June 2 years ago. So, probably a year and a half would be a good guess. But I've just never really put my thoughts down on paper about why I feel this way. So I'm hoping to use this channel to maybe explain to myself why I feel this way. In the future, I plan on maybe doing some other videos in response to a bunch of the people I follow on YouTube, which I'll explain later the significance of. I guess the best place to start would be the beginning. I was born and raised Roman Catholic. My family is mostly Irish, some French, so very Roman Catholic. I went to a Lutheran preschool just because it was the only preschool in the area at the time that was of any quality. And, you know, we did normal preschool stuff, but we also had to go pray. We didn't have grades, of course. It was preschool, but once a week we'd go in the chapel and do church things, and before snack time we would sing prayers. I started off going to one Catholic church with my family, and I had to go through church classes. I guess we call it CCD, but basically just where they taught us the stories and talked about how we can change our lives and try to be good little Christian boys and girls. I really liked VeggieTales, like my brother and I both did. We actually saw like premieres of the VeggieTale movies in the giant First Baptist Church of Orlando, which is one of those huge mega churches, just because that's where they were playing it. You know, they weren't exactly Catholic or anything, but our parents encouraged that. For about 7.5 years, my mom put me through this one dance studio, which was good fun. You know, I met a lot of cool people. I learned a lot about dancing. I did have fun, but it was a Christian dance group. So every week we had to memorize a Bible quote, and you got candy if you memorized it. We prayed before and after every practice, which, you know, in retrospect is really, really weird. But it just seemed completely normal at the time. I completely took it for granted that everyone there was Christian of some sort. But yeah, since I was very little, I always wanted to be a paleontologist. So I was exposed to science very early on. You know, I watched Bill Nye the Science Guy, which is, you know, exposed me to science, which I'm extremely grateful for. I was always interested in NASA. I was always interested in paleontology, so I never didn't think evolution was right, you know? Like, there was no reason to believe there was no such thing as dinosaurs, or that fossils were planted in the ground by Satan. I never had a reason to think that, because that was what I really, really wanted to do with my life. And I don't know, that was always been just a part of my life. So right from the get-go, I believe evolution is right. You know, I've seen the evidence. Well, for a child, I had seen enough evidence, and you know, as I grew older, I learned more about it, and I learned more evidence for it, and I never didn't believe it. But I never believed in creationism. You know, I did think there was a creation, but it happened, you know, billions of years ago, and that evolution was just being guided by, you know, God. I'm sorry. It's really polleny outside today. Yeah. Yeah, so I basically just went on with that, and in my elementary school, everyone was Christian. Everyone was German and Irish too, which was weird. But everyone was Christian. All of my friends were through, you know, the Christian groups with the church, or with this, like, Vacation Bible School. I did that a couple times, or with the dance group. And it wasn't even until middle school that I was exposed to other religions. And actually, now that I think about it, the only other religion I was really exposed to in middle school was Judaism. I wasn't even exposed to Islam until my high school, which, thinking back on that now, is very, I don't know how I lived. I don't know. I'm very surprised it didn't turn out like many Christians, because I was never exposed to those things when I was younger. So yeah, I always believed that the separation between Judaism, Christianity, and Islam was completely ridiculous. I didn't understand what everyone was fighting over. You know, I'm a little kid, I'm like, so we all believe that Moses talked to God, and then we happen to believe in Jesus, and they happen to believe in Muhammad. You know, what's the difference? I never understood that as a kid. And now I understand, you know, there's social ramifications for each religion hating each other. You know, even from a young kid, I thought, you know, Jesus was killed by the Romans. Why is everyone freaking out about Jews? Seriously. Romans. But I guess I was lucky I wasn't in too much of an anti-Semitic group. I guess, I don't know. Because, like, my mom is pretty liberal in terms of, you know, she's not racist, she's not, you know, religiously intolerant towards other religions. You know, atheism is a whole nother can of worms. So I was never exposed to that. But when my brother was being raised, so I was just starting to go to this church, I was just getting into dance. My brother actually had some language delay problems, so he was much too much of a behavior issue. You know, he had, you know, autism spectrum disorder, which, you know, he got enough therapy. He's a great, you know, he's a functioning member of society now. But back then, he just could not go to church. We just could not take him to church. So for years, we only went on Easter and Christmas and random times when we could. And I didn't have a problem with that. You know, I was a little kid. I thought it was kind of boring. You know, it was kind of cool when I had a little book I could follow along, like, oh, I understand why church is so long now. But I never cared. I thought it was fine. I thought it was great that we didn't go to church. It's like, great, we don't have to sit through this every week. And that, I believe, is when it started instilling in me the idea of you can still be a good person without having to go to church every week. So compound that with the fact that I didn't disbelieve evolution, and I didn't see a fundamental difference between the three major monotheistic religions. You know, you can kind of see this is starting to go somewhere.